Okay, today we're going to be talking about the smartphone. We all have them for the most part, and they were all very amazing when we first got them. We're all realizing that the honeymoon is over with the phone, and we need to reevaluate and reorganize our life with our smartphones. What would you say are some of our worst habits that we have, or that you have?
Well, I think the worst is checking your phone first thing in the morning. You just open your eyes, and the first thing that you want to do, it's like you have this extreme desire to just grab your phone. You grab your phone and you start looking at news articles, some pretty big, serious things that are happening in the world. And, you know, when you wake up, you're most vulnerable. Your faculties aren't fully there. And so I think it's just a really bad time for your brain to just bombard yourself with these sometimes horrible messages. And immediately you're starting your morning out with stress, cortisol probably is going through the roof. And I think that one is probably the worst. And I've been guilty of that.
For me, I see it when I'm working, and if I'm doing something on the computer, I have a few spare minutes or a few seconds even that I want to pick up my phone and just sort of quickly scroll through and hope that something will make me feel a little better. Any spare moment at work, I notice that.
Well, yeah, it's just that feeling every moment.
I think we should talk about first is the quick tips. The first one that you should definitely do is the turning off of your notifications and settings. So on an iPhone, this would be somewhere in your iOS settings under notifications. You can turn them off globally, or you can go through each app individually and turn them off.
You be in charge of what you see and what you don't see. Don't let your phone dictate when you ding, 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 ding. I mean, you should never have notifications on. That needs to be your decision on when you're going to look at something and read something. Let it be on your own terms, for sure.
The next one would be to have a spot at home where you put down your phone. So instead of keeping it in your pocket the whole time while you're at home, find a spot maybe by the front door and or in your office, and have that be your designated phone spot.
Or a drawer, because then you're not seeing it.
It allows you to have a slight barrier between picking up the phone and what you're doing in this moment. That slight barrier is an interrupt for the impulse. The next one I have is not to charge your phone near your bed. Bedtime should be something that you really protect. Looking at a bunch of anxious news stories doesn't help you fall asleep or in the morning.
They say don't bring any electronics into your bedroom. There should be no TV. There should be no computer. For health reasons also, blue light or whatever else they say is really bad for you. So get your phones out of the bedroom, for sure.
And then in the morning, of course, you don't want to roll over and pick up your phone right away. Let your mind wake up gradually so that you're not instantly bombarded with issues of the world. Give yourself a few minutes just for yourself.
Yeah.
It really does help with stress levels. The last one I have is for grayscale mode on iPhone. If you go on your iPhone and you go into settings and then accessibility shortcut, and under there is an option called color filters. And you select that, and what it does
horrible.
Is that with a triple tap, I guess you have to have a home button on your phone. So if you have the new iPhones with the notches, this doesn't work. But triple tap gives you a grayscale phone. So it is totally gray now. So everything.
It's so horrible to look at.
Yeah, it's not very pleasant. But then triple tap and it comes back to full color. And the idea with this is that it's just another mental interrupt. And it reminds you that, oh yeah, I'm in a spot where I'm trying not to use my phone as much. I should put it away. Unless it's an emergency.
So if you went to an app like Instagram, it would all be in grayscale.
Yeah.
And it would look horrible and you would not want to use it. So.
Well, yeah, you could quickly turn it off, but it's just that instant moment of...
But it helps remind you, you're putting it in that mode because you're not supposed to be looking at it, right?
Yeah. So we decided to try something new. We got flip phones. Old school flip phones. We picked up this model here. It's the Kyocera XV Extreme. High quality. Good old flip. It's got the nice tactile buttons, the flip close.
Totally waterproof.
It is actually very waterproof, yes. And pretty durable, pretty rugged.
Yeah.
Why did we do this? Well, when Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone, he described how Apple was releasing 3 revolutionary new devices. A revolutionary new internet device, a revolutionary new music player, and a phone. of course, they were all three the iPhone. He was showing you how it is a Swiss Army knife type device.
Yeah.
So you only have to carry around this one single thing in your pocket.
And now a
that's it.
camera, a really high-end camera.
Yeah, and a camera as well. The thing is that most of the things we do on a smartphone can actually be done better on dedicated devices.
Yeah.
The one thing people usually get a phone for is to have an emergency line. The biggest trick that the smartphone has played on us is that the emergency line is coupled with all sorts of addictive apps. What we ended up doing then is decoupling the emergency phone line that we need to have and all the other stuff that comes on this smartphone.
Yeah.
I bought them off of eBay, unlocked. We wanted to simplify the phone plan too, because obviously you pay a lot to have a smartphone with one of the major carriers. And we don't need much data for the flip phone. It doesn't really need that. So we looked into what are called MVNOs. And if you aren't familiar with those, that's a mobile virtual network operator. It's a company that purchases bandwidth essentially from the big players like AT&T and Verizon and resells it as phone plans. So it's a slightly slower than those big companies, but it's way cheaper. We got in each line with basically no data, like a gig each or something, and we're paying like $16 a month per line. So way down from AT&T or Verizon. We went with US Mobile. There's a lot of other MVNOs. It really pays to check those out if you haven't done that. You just need an unlocked phone that isn't locked into one of the big carriers.
Should we talk about then how that works with our iPhone usage? Because so then you can still use your iPhone at home on your wireless network. And so you can surf the web, you can do all the things that you normally do. You're just, it's just when you go out, you don't have, unless you jump on a wireless service somewhere, you can't use your iPhone with, you can't, the data.
Yeah, we're essentially turning our iPhones back into iPod Touches.
But you can't get on wireless networks.
But you can't get on
so
wireless.
You're at a Starbucks or you're at a grocery store or whatever.
We also added on this little guy. It's a Netgear Nighthawk cellular router or cellular hotspot. Essentially, it's a phone. It has a SIM card in it, and you pay just like you would pay for a cell phone plan. Through US Mobile, it's like another $16 a month. That has a data package with it. So we keep this usually in the car. It just broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal, and then any device that has Wi-Fi can hop onto it and use data.
Yeah, if there's an emergency and you needed to check something really quick or Google something, you have this, and you can then hop on your iPhone with it.
I guess the question is that most people will be asking, are we just making our lives overly complicated? What this setup allows is to decouple and change our behaviors a little bit. Say we're going out to a restaurant, we leave the smartphones in the car. We take the emergency line flip phone into the restaurant, and that's available if anybody needs to contact us. Then, if for some reason you desperately need to get on your smartphone, it's there in the car, and you have the hotspot to get on Wi-Fi.
Yeah. But one thing we should talk about is texting. When I told one of my friends that we were doing this, they said, well, what happens when you need to text someone in an emergency or they need to text you in an emergency? And I was thinking, like, why would you text someone in an emergency? Like, in an emergency, I think you'd call. We've just become so bad at speaking on the phone. We just text everything. And so I think if you are going to go this route, you do need to tell family and friends. If it is serious and you need something, you have to call.
I've tried to tell everyone to text me through messaging apps instead of using just standard cell phone text messaging, because Telegram, for example, is on the desktop, it's on the phone. You have Telegram, Signal, or Apple Messages, things like that, are all much easier to text.
Some people are texting us on these, and it's so hard. I mean, it's
old school texting.
It's old school. There is that, what is that word?
There's two modes on typing on a flip phone. There's the where you have to peck at a number until you get to the letter you want, or then there's something called XT9 word, which you just go through and you hit each one, and if that sequence, it figures out what word.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good at it. I try to tell people, don't text me on this. Text me on, like he was saying, a Telegram app or Signal or any of those. But know that I'm not going to get back to you right away. It's only when I'm going to check my phone. Just we need to get better at actually calling people if there's an emergency or some sort of.
Well, and I think that's one of those habits that has shifted through the last decade with smartphones, that most people love how impersonal texting is. And you can sort of hide behind it, and it's not exposing yourself.
I'm
as
guilty. I hate talking on the phone. I
don't
always
hate it.
hated it.
I don't hate it.
I loved when texting came out and it's like, oh, I don't have to talk to anyone. I could just text.
You're not alone. I think that's how it usually is.
I am finding, though, that I need my phone in case, if I go out and mow on the tractor, I have my phone in case anybody needs to get a hold of me. But then I also have my iPhone because I do love to take pictures when I'm out of flowers or the cows or goats or chickens or whatever it is. So I am feeling a little bogged down because I do have two devices, but not the end of the world.
I try to keep my smartphone on my desk. That does two things. It provides that interrupt where, I'd have to go over and get it if I want to check something on the phone. But it also means that it's sitting right next to my desktop computer. And if there's something I need to do, generally it's easier to do it on the computer, I feel like, most everything. So I'm just ending up getting on the computer and just doing it there. Do you feel like the habits change because of this stuff?
I'm home all the time. So for me, I'm not without internet, because we have the Wi-Fi we can jump on with it. I think if I were out more, I would notice it more because I can't get online. But for me now, when I'm out and doing stuff, the last thing I want to look at is my phone. I want to be present. I want to be outdoors or looking at stuff or shopping or whatever it is. I will say that I did lose my smartphone. We can't find it right now.
Guess we should get into that.
It doesn't have a Find My Phone, and I don't know where it is.
It is currently lost.
It is currently lost.
Maureen lost her Kyocera XV Extreme flip phone. It's hopefully somewhere here at the house.
I might need to call a couple places that I visited. So you gave me a Pine phone that you had.
Yeah, a Pine phone is a smartphone it's Linux based, so it's not quite as fully featured. It basically acts like the flip phone, though. It's just a simple phone for you to make.
But no one calls me. So, I need to work on my situation right now. So I think one thing that you need to do is set rules for yourself, whatever those look like. Maybe you say that after you wake up and you have breakfast and coffee, that you check your phone and then you put it away, and you say then maybe okay, at 2:00 or so, whatever you decide your rules are, you just need to adhere to those. It might be different for everyone else. Maybe you're only looking at it one time a day, or maybe you're looking at it 3 times a day, or maybe you're going to your computer more and checking those things and not really even using your iPhone, maybe just for photos or listening to music. But you need to set up some sort of restrictions. Do it for a couple weeks and see how you feel. See if you have more time, if you're more creative. What does it do for you to check your phone less? How do you feel?
Giving your mind some absent time and having some time where you're not constantly stimulated or on the receiving end of content. And that's not just the phone, that's TV, radio, and computers and everything else in the world. Your mind needs time to digest life, what's going on in your life, what you've been up to, what you've learned, what you've heard, things that may be upcoming. And if you're constantly on the phone in every moment that you have to spare, you're depriving your mind of that time to digest and to process.
Well, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. I mean, I think we're going to go much more in depth on this topic because this is a big one. Yeah. Being mindful of that is important.
Yeah, make yourself bored is the lesson here a little bit. It doesn't hurt to be a little bit bored in life.
Yeah, we all know the studies are out there. We've seen the brain scans and the dopamine hits and the brain lighting up, and we know it's bad for us. I think the most important thing to take away from all this is for you to be in control and not let your phone be in control of you.
Yeah.
So it may seem hypocritical that you are probably watching this on an iPhone or we're sharing it on Instagram or YouTube or where, but I don't think that we're saying that these aren't okay platforms to use. We're just saying be mindful when you use them, how often you use them. We're not saying, you should shun technology. I mean, he works in the tech industry. That's what he does for a living. And we love technology, but we're just deciding when to use it, how often to use it, and being in control of it.
This is a section to help you determine at home if you might be a candidate for decoupling the flip phone out of the smartphone. So, if you find yourself checking your phone during a movie that you paid to watch, you might want to try the flip phone. Right?
Yeah.
If you give a long monologue to a friend, and then when they start responding, you immediately pull your phone out and start scrolling, you might want to try the flip phone.
Come on. If you're doing that,
I've seen
if
it
you're doing
done.
that, you've got more problems that you need to look at.
Yeah. If you have small children and find them mimicking you looking at phones, you might want to try the flip phone. If you have dinner with friends, yet still feel the need to check what's happening in the world on your phone, you might want to try the flip phone.
Guys, it's so rude.
Well, that happens a lot.
It's so rude.
If you open your phone, check a series of apps, don't find anything you like, and then immediately go back to the first app again to see if anything new is in it,
FOMO.
you might want to try the flip phone.
I mean, what if you missed what was just posted?
Yeah. There's a few fun things about the flip phone we should just point out that maybe
Yeah.
people being able to close it and shut off a call, especially when you're angry, is great.
I do love
Even
that.
if you're not angry, it's still fun. To actually be able to use tactile keys again
Yeah.
is kind of fun. I missed that, and I didn't think I would have. But you realize, oh yeah, the interface is designed specifically for this functionality, whereas the touchscreen, this is designed to work with every app under the sun.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to live with that compromise to not have tactile buttons.
I do like tactile buttons. I mean, the one thing I hated was that Apple remote.
Oh, with the swipe on the
the
top.
worst.
Yeah, no
It
tactile.
never worked.
The other thing about the flip phone is that it stands out quite a bit, and I get a lot of comments on mine.
It's a real conversation starter.
It is. My barber, he saw it, and I showed him I had two phones. He said, "Oh, you're like a drug dealer carrying all these phones." But it is a great way to tell people that, yeah, I'm trying to do this because I'm trying not to use my iPhone as much, and this helps me break those habits. And
Yeah.
you usually get some response like, "Oh, that's a great idea. I need to do that too,"
Good for
or
you.
"Good for you." Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it definitely can help you spread that to other people and say, "Yeah, you should try to do that," or try
Yeah.
to break those habits.
Step one for people who notice that they do have an issue with their phone usage is, maybe you don't go out and buy the flip phone quite yet, but you set limitations for yourself and rules for your phone and your usage. I think you'll notice that you feel better when you decrease your usage. The time that you do spend on it will be more meaningful to you, and you're going to find yourself that you're not doing that kind of doom scrolling where you're like, panicking because you're just, your brain is just on overload. So do that first, and if you really feel good about it, then maybe try to switch to a flip phone and see where that takes you. And it's a great money saver. I mean, people are spending like $150 a month, and we're spending, I mean,
Crazy expensive.
That money could go to something else. Try it out.
There are a lot of really cheap options for these on eBay. If you want to get an unlocked flip phone, we tried to get one that was a little bit newer, but they've got ones well under $100, and depending on how vintage you want to get,
Yeah.
really cheap. Yeah, it's super easy to swap a SIM card between an iPhone and a flip phone, so you can try it out. You might surprise yourself how nice it is to try to break these habits like that. Great. Well, hopefully this gives you some thoughts and can introduce some new behaviors and some habits and break some old bad habits as well. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Good luck.